Hello, Infinite Creator. What is your gift in the garbage? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what you think is your shadow, your current challenge, the issue you keep battling, maybe on a repeat loop. It's actually a gift. May not feel like it right now, but inside every challenge, bit of shadow, perceived obstacle is a stepping stone. And the reason that it's there is so that it can be a stepping stone. It's a messenger, if you want to think of it that way. And hopefully after today's chat, you will think of your shadow, your fear, your anger, your sadness, your disappointment as a stepping stone. And these things that I mentioned, fear, anger, sadness, these three main feelings, the state of disappointment, or maybe a state of feeling unlovable, incapable of some way, these are not life sentences. These are stepping stones. They are waypoints that allow you to see that there is greater potential available if you're willing to sit with and let go of what feels terrifying about confronting this thing. And so when we take something like fear, okay, maybe you're in a stage of your life or doing your life's work and feeling like, okay, maybe where I am right now is a result of past decisions, but I am not my past decisions. And maybe where I am right now is some result of my past reactions, but I am not my past reactions. We might be misidentifying with who we are based on past happenings, events, situations. You are not who you were when you didn't know what you know now. You have changed. You have evolved. You have expanded. You have been successful every day in being able to take certain information that comes to light, maybe not all of it, but certain information that comes to light, and being able to say, I'm going to make a different choice about that now. That is your naturalness. That is part of the evolution and expansion of who you are as a being who is always progressing. Okay. And what are we progressing through? Experience. And you can't ever stop experience. Okay. Experience is. And inherent with that experience is expansion, meaning you might have a different viewpoint than you did 10 minutes ago. You might make a different choice than you did 10 years ago. Okay. So when we think about some challenge that we're dealing with right now, we might have some fear about it. Fear is not the root, not really. It's a symptom. It's a symptom that there's some old emotional loop there. There's some anger, maybe some grief, maybe a lot of doubt. And it keeps replaying long after it's served its purpose. And that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. It means that we are creatures of habit. Okay. It means something was never fully metabolized or resolved within you. And when that happens, those feelings harden into identity because the mind did what it's designed to do. Okay. It protected you by creating continuity. And it can be argued that the mind is computational and it's largely predicting what's going to happen next in your life, predicting for you almost, if you're giving the reins over to the computational mind to be in charge of your life, it will go off of predictability. This is what happened before. This situation seems familiar to what we experienced in a different time. Let's do this again. Until you intervene on a conscious level and say, wait a minute, I am not my mind. The mind isn't you, okay? It's a narrator. It's a historian, right? We know that. If it's going to be predictive in what it says, oh, do this next, and we just follow it, maybe sometimes unconsciously, blindly, it's going off of a past history. The mind is also a very enthusiastic storyteller with a strong attachment to the past. And if you ever noticed when you think about, well, why do I keep doing this? we have this almost compulsion to want to answer with because, and then we go into a story, something that happened to us. But what happened to us is different than the story we tell about it. When I work with clients and we do identity deconstruction, I know that sounds scary, but it is about rewinding the loops, the imprints, the false beliefs, the misperceptions that became an identity we latched onto and said, this is me. So we don't have to go through every single event and trauma, but it is about realizing when you go into a story about why you are the way you are. And that's the reason I never ask my clients, well, why do you think this is happening? Because that it's almost going to habitually cue someone to go into their story. Because this happened when I was a kid, because my dad was this way, because we grew up with no money. Those things are meanings that you attached to what happened. They are often generalizations, distortions. It deletes other things that might have been part of the larger context of what happened. So because the mind goes off of a lot of predictability, it needs to follow a clean narrative. So that means on some level, we are agreeing to what the mind says, this is me, and this me does these things. We're agreeing to it on an internal level. We don't have to. What the mind thinks is reality is only one reality out of many. What the mind thinks is your identity is only one identity, okay? Out of many, many possibilities. So you might find yourself at a moment right now where you're in a familiar repeating pattern, let's just say. And you might be asking, why does it keep happening to me? This could be money issues, relationship patterns. You could be in some creative drought, okay? You're not being punished. It's not life targeting you, okay? It's the same script being played, being replayed by a mind that doesn't know who you are now. It's going, remember, the mind is a historian and a computer. So it's taking your history and it's computing that data and saying, well, in order to predict something that also feels safe, because the mind is really, really good at helping you stay safe, meaning stay in your comfort zone, and it will go off of past history in order to do that. It will run on the past feelings that anchor that history or that story in order to do that. And the problem with that is that a lot of times we have this story and this identity that does not match the progress that we would like to be experiencing. It doesn't match the preferred reality that we say we want, okay? A lot of times also, it doesn't match the values we profess to have. In other words, what gives us meaning? The thing that you want right now, why do you want it? What does that mean to you? It's not even why you want it. What does it mean? If this is a lived in reality that you're embodying, you have this thing, it's already done, it's already complete. What value or quality does it represent to you to have it, to be living it? And a lot of times our feelings that are still running off of past history and outdated identity remain unresolved. Our values don't match up with our feelings. And whatever is the strongest there is going to win out. So you might say you want to be reliable. You might say you want to be generous. You might say you want to be loyal. But there's a past history and feelings that are still unmet and undigested about that past history that are saying otherwise. And if they've been so strong within you for a long time, that's the energy that's going to win out. So it is important to absolutely be clear about your values. But right on the heels of me working with my clients and asking them to be very clear about what kind of life do you want to lead? Because I think it's really important to have that vision, as grand as it might be something that you're consciously meeting and saying, well, these are the values or qualities I would have if my grand vision, my preferred experience of life came to be. Great. Now let's look at what's in the way of that, because if that were so strong in you, and I never doubt that it isn't strong within that client, but something else is stronger. Otherwise, they would be in that reality. I hope this is making sense. So those emotions, those feelings are latching on to that old identity of you like weights. And it's almost like they're whispering, like, see, this is real because you feel this way, but you are not your feelings. You're not even your thoughts. They aren't you. They're echoes, they're phantoms. Does that mean we bypass them or try to slay them or get rid of them? Absolutely not. You can be the grandest vision that you could possibly conjure. You can be that. And you absolutely do not need to exclude anything from that experience. Not one thing. You don't have to try to create a life where you exclude fear or try to diminish it or discount it. You can live a life where you don't have to diminish or try to get rid of anger or sadness. Your feelings are there because you're human. It's when we start creating all kinds of meanings and arrive at certain conclusions because we haven't met and fully digested and metabolized those feelings fully, it will anchor into an identity that we think that we stay stuck in, that is like a life sentence. It never is. And so when we start looking at feelings and even sometimes thoughts and beliefs as messengers, as stepping stones, really, as, well, it's not just some shadow that's showing like, here's this brick wall that you're going to keep hitting against. Oh, well, we'll find a way to go around it or whatever. No, and there's a lot of personal development work still that's based on this idea of like, here's this brick wall. Let's figure out and get really creative, a creative way to try to go around it. No, that's called bypassing. And that undigested feeling doesn't go anywhere. It remains some really sticky imprint within you that really is just a part of you that wants to be met with all of the love that you are. It wants to return to the light that you are. And it is entirely possible to hold on to fear, anger, and sadness. Or not, I don't want to say hold on to, but to be able to have and notice these feelings of fear, anger, and sadness without them completely, hobbling all of your forward progress. They're feelings. And you have feelings because you're human. But it's where we don't want to meet them with the fullness of our conscious attention and awareness that they end up becoming problems and feel like brick walls that we have to find creative ways around. So your reality is mirroring a self-concept that's built on everything you think you know about your past history based on conclusions you've arrived at and the way you feel about certain events or people, situations, your life in general, based on largely, that's my dog snoring in the background, by the way, based on feelings that you haven't let fully metabolize. Like there's something too scary about them for you that says, I can't look at this right now. I'll do this later. This task I need to do is way more important. I just want to set a tone right here, right now. When anyone decides to come and work with me, there is one underlying premise that I invite people to accept right away. Otherwise, they're really not a great candidate for working with me. And we're not going to collaborate on a level where we're meeting eye to eye and heart to heart. And that is, if you take 100% responsibility for creating your experience of reality, meaning life is lifing, okay? And that, can you accept at least that you're the creator of your experience of reality, that what you see in the mirror of reality, what you see as your outer experience, if you can accept that you have a hand in creating that, that must be some reason, even in those shitty moments, there must be some reason for that shitty event, experience, person, whatever, to be there. And that is a reflection of some agreement you are carrying within. Because when you accept 100% responsibility for that, you stop denying yourself the chance to change your reality. In other words, the buck stops with you. The power is entirely in your hands. And that quiet power of identity that goes beneath the one you manufactured to survive, to get by, to manage or cope with life. There's an identity, a baseline, fundamental, prime oneness of you. The identity before you learn to start asking, is it safe for me to have what I want? Do I deserve, or am I allowed to have what I want? There's a baseline, fundamental identity of you that once you start to tap into that, it changes everything. It is the quietest identity because it doesn't need to fight or strive or struggle or force or throw tantrums in order to be seen or heard. It's the you that exists in oneness. It's the changeless self. It's the you that has infinite possibility available to you. In other words, when you tap into that, everything that you want, no matter how grand or great your vision is, it's all there. It's all available at that level. And that your current self-concept has things piled on top of that. The things you think you know based on past experiences, conclusions you arrived at because you didn't have the full information available. There was context missing. You didn't have the cognitive ability to see really the truth of the situation and understand things on a deeper emotional and mental capacity. Okay. So you're seeing things through an old lens right now. And it feels like being stuck because certain information has come to light to you over time that there is greater potential available. Like in a very general way, you're aware on some level that there is a greater potential available for you, that you're not meeting your full potential. And you feel stuck, not because there are a bunch of external things in the way, but because you are misidentifying. And where you are misidentifying is not about creating a whole new identity that matches. No. We don't build new, fancy, polished, glam identities to match your highest ideal. We strip things down. When we work together, we let things go. And I know, I get it. It feels terrifying at first. Because letting go feels like, maybe for some people, if you have a negative connotation of that, it feels like giving up. It is not. It is about surrendering to what is already there and doesn't need to be built up because it's all already perfect as it is. It feels like stripping down to the unknown. Like, if I'm not this, then who am I? It's very, at first, the ego has a little fit. Okay, that's why when we do this work, we also accompany it with energy work. So you're tempted when you're faced with this idea of stripping down an old identity to ask certain questions like, what if I fail? What if I can't do it right? What if this is worse? What if this is all wrong? Well, guess what? If it is, we get to just put back everything the way it was. I mean, you've been doing that your whole life. It's pretty easy. Even if we try on something new, even if we, employ some new ideas and applications and a new tangible way of greeting life from more the fullness and the power of you, if you don't like it, you can always put it back. You've been doing that. You've been putting it back. Okay. So for those who have any interest in working with me, and if you do, I'm doing something that I haven't done in a while. I'm doing vision calls. And for the month of January, I only have 4 of these left. You can book them for February after that. But this is a 30-minute vision call where we look at, what do you need in your life right now? What do you need in your business right now? Those are 2 separate things. And where can we clarify how to make how you feel in your own life feel more cohesive and congruent so that your values are aligning with your progression forward instead of aligning with a misidentified you or aligning with the fear, anger, and sadness you haven't digested yet. And in your business, we kind of look at it the same way. It's very targeted, very precise, very quick, and it's free. So if you want that, there's a link in the description to get that. If you want to move right ahead into Liberate program and just start doing this work with me right now and get support in a school group where we have a community where we have Q&As and we have support calls for what's already in the 12-week Liberate program, that link is in the description too. So you always have a choice. You always get to choose. Yes. You can carry the past forward and call it realism, or this is just reality. This is just the way it is. Reality is incredibly subjective. There are as many versions of reality as there are sentient beings on this planet. Think about that. We're getting into the billions, okay, in that one. What you call reality is subjective to you and your perceptual bias, and your entire perceptual bias is based off of an identity that largely is based off of meanings, conclusions you arrived at that do not represent facts or truth. They represent what you agreed to as the truth at the time. And I'll bet you dollars to donuts, it doesn't meet up with the vision that you have and what you want to create and what you want to build going forward. So right now, I'm sure you have some unresolved emotions that are like coming to the surface, okay? But I want you to understand that when you learn how to dissolve and transmute these feelings back into the light of full possibility, back into your power, when you feel your power returning, fear loses its authority. It doesn't mean it stops being there. We're not trying to get rid of anything. The way I teach and share, you don't have to get rid of anything. It's about where you're putting your attention and awareness based on what you want to build, based on the life you want to create, based on the experience you prefer, okay? Because your attention and your awareness is your greatest energetic asset available to you. No one can take that away. And in fact, that is proof positive that it's the most valuable thing, because look at what marketing and social media and like the dopamine hit sensationalism of everything you see with ads, commercials, television shows, etc. They are ways to grab your attention. Because if something has your attention, it has you. And not in a way where you never have the power to negotiate that. Where are you placing your attention in terms of your inner state? Are you focused on feeling like I don't feel reliable? I don't feel like capable. I don't feel lovable. I don't feel like I'm able to build the life that I want. If your attention and awareness is on that most of the time, I'll tell you exactly what your life looks like. Okay? It's not congruent with your grand vision. You always have a choice. When you realize that you were never meant to stay one way forever, like nothing is final. There's no feeling that is final. There is no situation that is final. We are living in a 3D realm of action and movement and time and space where nothing is ever final. Everything is always in flux. So even if you think this state that you're in right now is a sentence, it ain't. But it might be time for you to be a little more proactive about, well, what could be, like if I was going to implement a 1% change in my life right now, maybe starting with making a different choice. Maybe starting with making a different choice to come back into my power a little bit more, to exercise more of the inner authority that I know is there, to start moving a little bit closer to this vision I have from where I am right now. And that's the greatest thing, is that you get to start from where you are right now. It doesn't matter how much you think you fucked up in this past week or since the beginning of 2026. What's on my mind? It doesn't matter, because those roadblocks are really just happening in your mind and nowhere else. It's more about, well, who am I choosing to be today? And it's even more about, who am I choosing to be right now? Because all there is right now. Everything else is an illusion. What happened 10 minutes ago, it's a ripple of an effect of what we call a memory, but even memories can't be fully trusted because they're always going to be subject to our own perceptual bias of who we say we are. So we don't ever see things as they truly are in their truth. We see them as we think ourselves to be, right? So if you are willing to be inquisitive about what old feelings are you just willing to surrender right now? Well, you want to check out the surrender sessions also as a link in the description of the video here. And realize that if there's a version of you that you can imagine living a life that feels more easy, feels fun, feels joyful, where you feel generous, where you feel like you are coherent inside, in your inner reality and your outer reality, there's congruence there, there's resonance. It feels like flow to be alive. And yes, there's going to be challenges. Life is going to be lifing. You're never going to stop that. Okay? You don't want to stop the flow of feelings. They're messengers. That's all. It's when we latch other meanings onto them that it becomes a problem and it holds us back. It's not about trying to get rid of anything that, I mean, yes, maybe an old identity, but that's not even getting rid of anything either. It's about chipping away what was false to begin with. Your feelings aren't false. Your experience of your feelings is not false. Own the experience of your feelings, but realize they don't have to say anything about you. They don't have to dictate anything about your destiny or the grand vision that you're able to step into. It's just a feeling in the moment that's there. And you can feel it, digest it fully, and let it go and go on about your business and still create whatever legacy, destiny, beautiful, grandiose vision that you want to, because you're a powerful being and you can create whatever you want. And I say that in full confidence because I've been doing this for a long time, for well over 2 decades now. And I see what people do in Liberate program. I see what people are capable of when I work with them one-to-one. And it's powerful. You know why? Because we're all powerful beings. We just have to lose the baggage, you know, the emotional shrapnel from things that have happened. And what big takeaway you can take with you right here, right now, is that what happened, happened. What happened belongs to the moment. It doesn't belong to you. You don't have to keep holding on to it. You don't have to keep chewing on it, ruminating on it. It doesn't mean anything unless you allow it to. What would you like to mean more? Your vision? Well, what shift needs to happen around that right now? And it might just be, what if I put a little more attention on all the accomplishments I've made towards this goal rather than the ways that I feel like life has thwarted my success with it? It's really about what you want to put your attention on. It happens in your inner being. And when you embody that shift, the mind will meet you there. The world will meet you there. And releasing the old narrative, letting that dissolve back into the prime identity. When you feel your power returning on that level, man, there's nothing like it. There is nothing like it. And it's not like you'll never have any problems again or issues again. I have been doing inner work well over 35 years now. I'm 54. It never stops. But you know why? Because experience never stops. Because your expansion never stops. So wouldn't it make sense that every time I know that expansion is right around the corner, I'm going to meet some part of myself that didn't feel safe with it up till now? That's all shadow really is. Unmet, undigested feelings, erroneous conclusions we came to. That's all those, you know, that shadow really is. It's a gift. It's your gift in the garbage, if you look at it that way. And I like looking at it that way because then it gives me something to work with instead of feeling like it's a brick wall I have to be creatively thinking about how to get my way around. I just look at it. I don't see it as a brick wall. I see it as a stepping stone. A challenge that's only here right now and presenting itself because it has some positive intent for my expansion. And the second I start listening to that, even more of my power returns. Yours too. So I hope this was helpful to you, and I'd love to know if it was. Please leave in the comments what resonated for you the most about this message. And if you love this content, please consider subscribing to this channel. Give this video a like, share it with someone you think who would appreciate this message as well. And check out all the links in the description if you're interested in working with me. So thanks for watching. Bye for now.